Good morning, everyone, and welcome to my podcast, Health and Happiness. My name is Lynette. Today we're going to talk about situational happiness versus organic happiness. Situational happiness is when something happens, like when you buy a new car, when you meet someone you think this is Mr. or Mrs. Right, or you get that promotion at work. But it's also a fleeting moment. It's a short period in time. Where organic happiness is constantly, it's you change your whole being to view things differently, to have a different sort of attitude, to where your perception of life in general is a happier outlook. In fact, on Google, the definition of organic happiness is a choice. It's the way in which we respond to not only our victories, but most importantly to our trials and tribulations. It's about enjoying every moment, which includes both the journey and the destination. Wow, that is an amazing definition. I know some of the things that we talked about in earlier episodes are to help you get to this point to where your mindset, your attitude, your outlook on life is achieving happiness no matter what's going on. Because it is definitely the journey and not the destination. Because we're always on a journey. Here is a review of some of the things we talked about that will help you have a better attitude, have a better outlook on life, and in short, bring more happiness. The first one being, you can glance at the past but don't stare. We've all gone through growing pains as we've grown up to be the adults that we are. And some were good and some were bad, and I don't know why, but the bad ones seem to be first and foremost in our minds and our memories. So myself, sometimes if I think too hard about a situation that was rather unpleasant, it will set my whole mood. So we don't want to go there. You know, it's over, it's done, it's the past. So every time that happens to you, you want to say to yourself, you can glance at the past, but don't stare. And that brings you right back to the pleasant moment. The second thing we're going to talk about is do not depend on others to make you happy. If you're going to depend on someone else to make you happy, regardless of what they do, what they say, it will affect you. That is giving somebody else way too much power. You need to look to yourself for happiness. So if the time or the moment should arise when you aren't invited to something that you think you should be and it affects you, it hurts you, just say to yourself, do not depend on anyone else to make you happy. And don't give anybody that much power over your life. Another topic is to say to yourself, not my business. Do not judge. No more shoulds. And by saying it's not my business, we've all come across, especially people we care about, they make a decision, they do something, and we think perhaps they should have made a different choice. Or somebody will do something that really irritates you. And you have to say to yourself, it's not my business. Because it's really not your business what somebody else chooses to do. They're on their own journey. And that brings the subject to do not judge. So you also do not want to judge what somebody else does because they're doing what they feel is best for them in their life. Thirdly, I want to say that on this topic, do not gossip. Gossip poisons you more than the person you're gossiping about. And to be happy, you have to feel good about yourself. And I don't believe you can feel good about yourself if you are gossiping about somebody else. So, with all this being said, you need to do what makes you feel good about you. Another topic we covered to bring on happiness is keeping your priorities straight. My priorities are God, myself, my family, and then everyone else. And the reason I put myself first, I used to think that was selfish to do. But if you think about it and you don't put yourself first, you can't help anybody else. It's almost like a cup that's full and running over. You can give away what runs over, but if you give away what's in the cup, pretty soon your cup is empty. So no, it's not selfish. In fact, it's quite the contrary. You do need to take care of yourself before you can help anybody else. Another thing we talked about was tapping into our spiritual side. It's almost like when you're at a concert and the music is so loud, you almost can't hear anything else. And somebody is trying to give you directions in your ear and you can't hear them. Well, when we're going through things, our minds get so noisy, so cluttered, that we can't hear that still small voice, that spiritual voice, the voice of God, basically, telling us the directions we need to take or the actions we need to take. So it's important to quiet yourself enough so you can hear that voice, because there are spiritual influences. And if you haven't heard them yet, you will if you learn to quiet yourself, center yourself, and be open to it. And they can give you wisdom that you never knew. You can solve many, many problems just by tuning into your spiritual side. Another thing we talked about is painting the world your color. And that is figuring what you want your world to look like, setting your goals, and going for what you want it to be, whether it be a job, the city you want to live in, or all of the above. I mentioned making an intention board, and that is getting a poster board and cutting out pictures in the magazine and placing them on this board. And something about doing this sends your goals out into the universe, and you would be shocked, pleasantly shocked, how it really does happen. It doesn't always happen overnight, of course, but in time, you'll look back at that board and you'll see that you did achieve those goals. And I'm going to finish up my refreshing on this by saying, remember, the grass isn't always greener on the other side. Before you make decisions, I do recommend that you tap into your spiritual side. So the decisions you make hopefully will save you any steps that making the wrong decision might have made. Not to add fear to making a decision, but don't always make your decision based on the fact that you think the grass is greener on the other side. Because sometimes what you need is what you already have. You just need to fine-tune your own attitude, look at things a bit differently. People in your life generally give back to you what you give to them. In other words, the way you treat people is the way people treat you. So you need to look at that also. And by making these small adjustments in your thinking, will change your attitude and set the pace for a much happier life and a much better way of handling relationships and being in relationships, whether they're friendships, romantic relationships, whatever the case may be. Getting the keys to know how to handle situations with people, with careers, with whatever life throws at you is the key to happiness. One thing you do want to be sure to do, though, is to learn from your mistakes. Just remember that almost every mistake is a lesson learned to maybe to handle that certain situation a little bit differently. So don't always take it as a bad thing, but take it as a way that you will handle the same situation next time. And remember that every cloud does have a silver lining, even if it's just to learn a lesson, or even if it's to get you from where you are to where you need to be. It's funny that sometimes you think you know all of these things, and then something will happen that will make you realize that you still have a long ways to go. As far as the first one we discussed, you can glance at the past but don't stare. I thought I had conquered that. I really did. And then I went to brunch with some people, and there was a subject that I wanted to clear the air about. Now, I should have known better than to bring up this subject because it is a subject from my past. And so I thought I was confident enough to do it, so I did bring it up. And the person I was speaking with said something that made me feel horrible. Actually, it made me feel bad for days. So I learned my lesson that it doesn't mean don't do it sometimes. It means don't do it. Now, with all that being said about looking too far to the past, looking too far to the future, what happens when things happen in real time? I had a situation happen to me. In fact, it's still in the works, where I got hacked on my social media account. I got hacked. And I was afraid that they were going to get into my personal things, financial, etc., on my computer and on my phone. So I know better than to look at the past and to look too far into the future. However, this happened and it was in real time, and I got to be honest with you, I didn't know how to handle it. I am not that technologically savvy, and I tried to correct what they've done, but they seem to be always a step or three ahead of me. So I found myself, I even was dreaming about possibilities that they could do. So then I found myself thinking, well, if they get access to this will happen and that will happen. And then it made me realize I was in a what-if situation. And we can't live life with the what-ifs. It's not happening today, so I don't need to worry about it today. If it does happen, I hope not, but if it does, then I have to cross that bridge when I come to it. But I will waste minutes, hours, weeks, years, if I'm always worried about something that hasn't even happened. The people who did the hacking are definitely in situational happiness because each time they do this to a person, they probably feel some sort of victory, some sort of happiness that they achieve their goal at the expense of others. But living that kind of life, they will never have organic happiness. They will never have it because you can't get your happiness by taking advantage of others. But what it did make me realize, yes, things do happen in real time, and we're supposed to live in the present moment, not the past, not too far into the future, although we do need to have future goals. So in doing that, again, I realize I can't worry about the what-ifs. The what-ifs are not a reality. So you can only deal with what is actually happening at the present moment, whether it be good or bad. You face it and take care of it as it comes. But to live in a what-if situation means living in fear. We could think of what-ifs all day long, but you cannot deal or straighten out something that's not even real. So again, we can't live in the what-ifs. We can only live in the present moment, what is actually happening. With all that being said, I would like to remind you to keep growing, keep learning, and keep loving life. Because there are many more adventures to come, many more happy memories, many more happy moments. With that being said, I hope you all remain healthy and strong. And until we speak again, I hope you have a great week, 2 weeks, whatever it may be, until we talk again. Bye-bye.